Okay, I think we're good to go. I think we are good to go. Let me make sure that this thing starts and it is good. Let's see. Let's see. Just double checking sound, double checking video, then we will get started. Are we getting sound here? Checking sound, double checking video. Perfect. Cool. What's up, people? Okay, let's get into this thing. I'm gonna, of course, give it like a minute, 2 minutes to let the notifications go out. Welcome into everyone who is already here waiting and watching live, and of course, welcome to everyone who is rewatching this replay. If you are rewatching this replay, I will have timestamps provided for you in the description down below, or you can simply just go look for whenever you see one of these little changes here with the green bar. But of course, we are going to be covering a lot today. So welcome in everybody, of course, and let's get into it. I know it's been about 4 or 5 days since I did a live stream. I would like to do them a little bit more often, but I do have to find a balance between doing my normal videos, my Solana videos, my Matic videos, Cardano videos, and my live streams, right? So I'm still trying to find a balance, but do bear with me here. I'm still going to try to focus on 2 to 3 a week. We got 2 in this week, maybe 3 in next week. Of course, that'd be fantastic. But in today's, today's live stream, today we are going to be talking about the breakout that's happening in crypto right now, right? We saw a huge move this morning. Not massive, maybe huge is a little bit over exaggeration, but we did see a steep decline in total two. At one point, total two, the total market cap of all cryptos was down like 6%. So I'm going to cover that because we've been in a period of just boringness recently. So as this does transpire and as we do see this period of boringness likely come to an end here, I'm going to tell you guys exactly what price targets we need to be looking for. So we're going to get to that in the towards the later part of this video. Before that, we're going to go ahead. We're going to get into, let's just start, realistically, we're going to start with the intro, which is right now. We're going to get into crypto news, things that's going on in the crypto world. Then we're going to get into Luna, Bitcoin technical analysis, altcoin technical analysis. Then some MicroCap Talk as per usual. Then we're going to do a chat Q&A. So, of course, with that said, it looks like all notifications did go out. So let's get straight into it. Starting off with some crypto news, okay? So let's kind of lay the landscape of what's going on in the crypto world prior to getting into the rest of the streams. So what we see going on is, of course, last week we did talk about what was going on over in El Salvador, where there were many central bankers from multiple different countries who were kind of congregating and talking and learning, educating themselves, and just discussing cryptocurrency and specifically Bitcoin. Okay. Now, as this did happen, we knew that there would be results to this, right? We knew that there was going to have to be some type of, hold on, give me 1 second here. Looks like I moved my camera off. Hold on 1 second. Let me get this put back on. There we go. Okay, anyway. So, I have no idea why my camera did that. Anyway, let's get me about right there. Should be fine. And then let's move that. But anywho. So, what we can see again is that we had all of this information going on about what was going on out in El Salvador, right? And we knew that there would be effects to this. And I think that we are already starting to see some of the effects as a result of all of these different central bankers and just people within the last couple months and the last few weeks, especially bankers specifically, focusing in and honing in on how cryptocurrency can be effective going forward. Okay, so what we can see here is that we got news, and this is just a little bit of an update from Bitcoin Magazine of how all of these things have been doing. And of course, we saw that El Salvador did go ahead and adopt Bitcoin 9 months ago. Since then, financial inclusion of previously excluded people who were not, capable of really being represented in the financial world or landscape, we're seeing them included within that same landscape now. 45 new companies registered as a part of the ecosystem. And of course, in a country such as El Salvador, and in a country, even if you consider something like Venezuela and some of these countries that do struggle in terms of just their financial stability, it's amazing to see the developments that are coming out of these countries simply due to the adoption and just overall embraciveness of crypto. And the last thing we see here is that investment projects in tourism, energy, and real estate. So we did see that they're having all of these different new tourist locations specifically set for cryptocurrencies. And considering that the world is, that's not something that you see quite often, the fact that a country like El Salvador, who has struggled historically, financially, and just their overall economy wise, it is amazing. I mean, it's phenomenal to see that they are starting to take on so many advantages because of crypto. And I think it kind of lays the landscape going forward right now. As that has happened, we have even started to see some of our own central bankers, and we've actually started to see some of our own regulators starting to embrace Bitcoin and crypto and actually putting out reports that, if this came out 2 years ago, would have been the biggest report that we would have seen the entire year, right? So we see that JP Morgan sees 28% upside for Bitcoin. JP Morgan thinks Bitcoin is below its fair price, which is important, and now features among the bank's preferred alternative investments. And people don't understand that. Literally, whenever I first got into crypto, maybe towards 2019, towards the beginning of 2020, had this come out, it would have headlined everywhere, right? Everyone would be talking about this. It would have sent Bitcoin at the time, up 15, 20%, right? And the reason that this is so important is because, let's be real here. Of course, the economy is important, and of course, all of that's important, but what's the most important in the United States, at least, is the money, right? I mean, it seems to be what our entire country runs off of, and it's what we're most focused on. So, considering the fact that JP Morgan, one of the largest banks, one of the most important banks in this country, sees Bitcoin as its preferred alternative investment, it sets again some more precedent for people and other companies and institutions going forward to say that it is a feasible and reasonable investment, something that is actually genuine and here to stay and reliable. And that itself is huge to me, because whenever we see Bitcoin at back around $30,000, sitting well financially, or significantly above where we set the last all-time high at 20,000, right? We're still at 30,000. Whenever we see that, we've not even revisited that bear market high yet. We've not even seen the teens again. And someone like JP Morgan's coming out saying it believes that Bitcoin's under its fair value. The implications there are that many of these institutions likely share a very, very similar mindset. They probably share something that goes, right now is a good time to be buying, because it's probably under its fair value by their own metrics. And so, considering that fact, that does further incentivize me to say that a bottom could be much sooner than later. I don't see us going to $8,000 like that one guy said, or us even going to $15,000. I just simply don't see it coming, because many institutions are doing a fantastic job of accumulating now, as even one of the largest banks in the country believes that Bitcoin is at a discount. That's not just a moon boy YouTuber, which I don't really consider myself a moon boy with some of the things I say, but it's saying no, it simply is just coming down from the people who move this thing, and those are the whales, and the whales are the people with the money. And who has the money? The banks, right? So seeing that is what's happening right now is absolutely amazing, and I do believe this could have some massive implications on the future here. Okay, so what we can see here is that, let's say, however, Bitcoin's steep sell-off, as well as that for other cryptocurrencies, has been more profound than in other alternative investments, such as private equity, private debt, and real estate. JP Morgan reportedly said, therefore, the bank envisions more room for rebound in the digital assets class than in other alternative assets. We thus place real estate with digital assets as our preferred alternative asset class among with hedge funds. JP Morgan strategist reportedly said in the note the bank was sticking to its view that $38,000 was a fair price for Bitcoin, about 27.5% higher than it is at 29.7K. So, the fact that we're seeing them not only saying that it's at a discount now, right? I mean, they believe it's quite substantially at a discount. And I just personally do believe and take that as a massive sign that with all of the things going on in the world, sure, we can continue lower. But considering the fact that some of these most important banks and institutions and regulators and all of these people who just make this economy run, since they are the ones who are fueling this thing, the fact that they believe this thing's sticking around, the fact that they believe that it is their preferred alternative investment right now, since they believe that it even has a fair value price, it shows that they do value Bitcoin. They do see the potential in Bitcoin. And of course, as they do value Bitcoin, that opens up many doors of opportunity for other things such as DeFi and all of that good stuff. So it's amazing. Okay. And I do like to see that. And I do like to see that they are still implementing and developing all of these new precedent. Okay, I think it's all about precedent, and that's something people don't understand, is that even when the market's not looking good, right, the market's a little ugly, the fact that things are happening in the background to set the foundation for crypto to grow, it's what's amazing to me. So that was a huge piece of news that just came out the other day, that came out just yesterday. So of course I wanted to cover that. And last but not least, we did get a very important update from the Fed. We had the FOMC minutes come out in which they just give a little bit of an update on what all they think is going on with the economy. Now, people tend to question and people tend to ask me why I do focus so much on news? Why do I focus so much on what is going on? And the reason being is that these markets are not moving themselves. And realistically, crypto is not going to go anywhere without adoption and without the overall environment laying the foundation and without someone like JP Morgan allowing it to. It's just not going to happen, right? So it's important to always know what's going on within the economy, within the environment, because it does set the set the tone really for what is crypto truly capable of. So we got here, we got pretty much what we expected from the Fed, and that's a good thing, because I think if this would have been a little bit worse than people were, if this would have came out and it would have been pretty bad, I think people would have been quite worried about it, because I think we're in a very fragile environment right now. I think not only just crypto, but stocks and equities in general, the majority of assets at this point are extremely fragile. So considering that, if this came out and they were like, yeah, we're considering even going up 100 basis points or 75 basis points, I think that would have been quite bad, and I think it would have moved Bitcoin pretty fast towards the downside. So it is good to see that they are still in the same mindset, and that is a sign to me that they do believe that their plan is working, okay? So what we can see is that Fed minutes released Wednesday indicated that officials are prepared to move ahead with multiple 50 basis points interest rate hikes. In addition, the Federal Open Market Committee said policy may have to move past neutral into restrictive territory, which is something they've hinted at before. That is nothing new as well. And it said the minutes indicate that members are hopeful they can bring down inflation, but also concerned about financial stability risks. And I like the fact that we are seeing them address the fact that, sure, they need to get, inflation down. They need to do that, but they are not going to seemingly put the entire world in jeopardy by just completely creating a terrible financial situation for everyone involved, okay? So although they are talking about going from neutral to restrictive and things, the fact that they are concerned about financial stability risks means that they won't do anything so dramatic and drastic, in my opinion, to really just destroy what is remaining of this economy, right? Because our economy is kind of in shit right now. So it's a good sign to me that they are still going to go in a more preservative and conservative in terms of just not doing too much at once, right? So they're still on the same track. They are still kind of edging towards these 50 basis points interest rate hikes until they can start to see inflation coming down. And again, I am under the belief that once inflation starts to show signs of peaking, that will be when there's more excitement and overall optimism in the economy. So do be on the lookout for this. I'm not going to dive super deep into Fed minutes. Of course, do go check that out if you would like. But we have been live for about 12 minutes, so we're going to get ready to move into the next segment here. But for that reason, do pay very close attention to the next ones going forward, because I think since they are going to start to create a rhythm and a pattern, it does seem as if, if they keep coming out with 50 basis point interest rate hikes this month, the next month, etc., people will become used to it. So as long as they don't diverge in any way, start going to 75 or 100, and they stick to what they've been doing, I don't really see it negatively affecting the market that much. And so we could start to see a little bit of acceptance from crypto, and we could finally start seeing the market stop reacting so hard to these interest rate hikes, okay? So that's what's going on in the world right now. I think it's always important to just lay the foundation of what's going on in terms of countries' adoption, in terms of how do we go forward with the world, okay? So let's go ahead. Let's kind of transfer this thing over now. We went into crypto news, so let's kind of push forward. I'm going to go ahead and start moving this thing down here. And let's talk about what's going on with Luna, okay? So, of course, Luna is having a big day today. Looks for a big day today, okay? So we can see that one of the proposals did get passed. So we're going to talk about exactly what this means. We're going to summarize it, give my opinion on it, and then, of course, we will move from there. So let's go ahead and let me just do this. Boom, no problem. Okay, so what we can see is that Terra 2.0 is coming. With overwhelming support, the Terra ecosystem has voted to pass Proposal 1623, calling for the genesis of a new blockchain and the preservation of our community. Now, I wanted to let everyone know this, and I saw a little bit of, I don't want to call it misunderstanding, but seemingly confusion from a lot of people in kind of like the Luna ecosystem, where they're saying that this is going to be a fork, and that if it's going to be a fork, then it's going to have the same result as the previous blockchain, which is true, right? Whenever you think about it in the sense of if someone has a blockchain that sucks and you fork it, your blockchain sucks too. This isn't a fork, okay? This is going to be a completely new blockchain, right? They're going to simply be creating a new blockchain in which they will then be disincluding, this algorithmic stablecoin that kind of caused all of this, UST, and all that good stuff. So it's not a fork. I think they immediately were like, we need to fork it, but I think they came out with a better idea, a better way to do it, which is just create a new blockchain in general. Just restart from scratch. So let's just review all of this, and I'm going to tell you guys what I think is going to happen, okay? Just kind of my opinion on how this is all going to go. I would like to actually see right now. I would like to see Terra Classic price today. We can already start to see this in progress. We're starting to see a little bit of this sell-off here. We did start to see a little bit of stability. I just kind of wanted to see what the price was doing. I hadn't looked at it. Obviously, that's not going to look too good. And this is going to be the new one. This is going to be the new, you can see the source code, the white paper, and all that good stuff here, Terra.money. Okay, so they already are getting all of this set up and ready to go. So as you can see, they were ready. They pretty much figured this was going to happen. So anyway, we went over the Terra ecosystem revival plan in my last live stream, so definitely do go check that out if that's what you are here looking for. I'm not going to go exactly into the fine print, but we are going to summarize what's happening for anyone who may just be kind of who may be a little new here. Now, this did actually pass pretty easily. It seemingly got the majority of support, so that's also amazing to know that the majority of the people backing the project, they do support it. But what we can see. So it will effectively create a new, let me zoom in on this. It will effectively create a new Terra chain without the algorithmic stablecoin. The old chain will be called Terra Classic Token, and the new chain will be called Terra. Token will be Luna still. And of course, the token for the last one will be LUNC, of course, Luna Classic. The chain upgrade will commence a few hours after the launch snapshot. Now, I need to go see when that snapshot is exactly. I know it's on May 27th, but I don't know at what time. If anyone knows the time in like Central Standard Time, if you could put it in the chat, that'd be great. But the final release of new Terra Core has been released in preparation for the new chain launch on 27th of May. So we're going to actually go ahead and check that out. Just go see what all they have put out here. And as you can see here, I mean, all of the important information that you may need is, of course, provided to you. Then they went ahead and just talked about, this is pretty much, for the most part, honestly, this is a lot of the same stuff from the last GitHub in which they had released, but they are missing certain things like the stablecoin, everything involved with the stablecoin, etc. Oh, is the snapshot today? I could have swore I thought it was May 27th. I could be wrong. I was very sure it was, though. So anyway, so what we can see here is that Terra is a public open source proof of stake blockchain. The Terra Core is the reference implementation of the Terra protocol written in Golang. The Terra Core is powered by Cosmos SDK and Tendermint BFT consensus. So of course we know that previously there was already, historically, whenever they would talk about Terra, they would already start to mention, the fact that it was tied to a stable coin. So all of that stuff is removed. So you can see they are completely rebranding in a sense, trying to move forward past all of that, negativity, of course. So Luna will be airdropped across Luna Classic stakers, Luna Classic holders, residual UST holders, and essential app developers of Terra Classic. Now, of course, we talked about, it's May 27th in Singapore. Okay, gotcha. Okay. So, in terms of the distribution, we covered this. I told you guys how I felt about it in the last one, but the community pool will receive 30%. There'll be 35% to pre-attack Luna holders, 10% to pre-attack AUST holders, 10% to post-attack Luna holders, and 15% post-attack UST holders, okay? So, as you can see, the proposal allocates a large portion of the token distribution to provide one runway for existing Terra dApp developers and to align the interests of developers with the long-term success of the ecosystem, which is going to be from the community pool. And I do think this is necessary. I do feel as if it's a lot. I think 30% is a substantial amount, but it is probably the necessary amount because they've lost a lot of money and they are going to need to be able to figure out where they go from here by having a little bit of leeway with cash, right? What we will know is, of course, that TFL's wallet, LFG's wallet, and the distribution module where the community pool lives will be removed in the airdrop whitelist. Basically, this makes it completely community owned. The removal of these wallets from the airdrop will make Terra a fully community-owned chain. We believe this is an important step to empowering our ecosystem, and they're very aware that a lot of people don't really trust them. Honestly, I feel like trust has been diminished and depleted quite substantially. I think people are under the expectation that this thing is going to fail. I think a lot of people are bitter. I think a lot of people are upset. I definitely have a sour taste in my mouth for how all this played out. And I think they know that this needs to be moved more towards the hands of the community, right? No one's going to trust them to have a big ass reserve because they're like, well, you can have that reserve, but we don't trust you with it. And, there is still speculation about what happened with the reserve. There is no 100% proof being provided that they used it to fight the peg. There is no proof there. So considering the fact that they are moving towards more of a community owned situation, I think is going to provide a lot more clarity and a lot more it's going to help with trust in the long term, but it's definitely going to take some time. So we are proud to be working closely with CEX partners such as Binance and Bybit Official and many others to support the airdrop to our community members who held tokens on exchanges. To Vera validators and dApp developers, we can't wait to see where you take this. Please make sure to check out our migrations guides. To your new home. We've already seen incredible groundswell of the world's leading dApps committed to Terra 2.0, and we expect more in the coming days. Now, that is true. I have seen a lot of different crypto projects and companies coming out to support Terra 2. I think they know the excitement, they know the hype that's going to come with it at the beginning probably, and they just want to drive some of that traffic to their own platforms, and that's okay. It says here to kind of wrap this thing up. Terra is powered by a passionate community and deep pool of developer talent. Many of you shared thoughts and ideas on the proposal, and those contributions led to significant improvements. Thank you for your engagement. Our strength will always be in our community, and today is the most resounding sign of yet our resilience. We can't wait to resume our work together building the future of money. Now, a lot of people are still a little bit upset, and a lot of people are pretty confused about what exactly is going on, exactly how you're going to be able to receive your airdrops, exactly how you're going to be able to ensure that you are included in the overall allocation. Those are not answers that I have, and I do feel like they need to come out with something real specific in terms of read. Binance stopped trading on Luna just now. I'm not sure. I've been on stream, of course, but what we can see is that I do believe the next step for Luna is that they need to come out with a complete guide of exactly how you can receive your airdrop, who receives the airdrops in terms of if you held it on Coinbase, if you held Luna on Coinbase, if you held it on, whatever. And so I feel like what's next is that they'll very likely come out with a way to let people know exactly how this thing is going to go, because it does seem as if there has been a lot of questions. I didn't see it in the GitHub, but I may be wrong here. Yeah, I didn't see it in terms of like any information about how that is all going to go. So I would be looking forward to that. And if that does come out, I will update you guys. But overall, I do feel like a lot of people were excited whenever we started to see the burn and all that good stuff happening. And then it seemed as if this new blockchain was going to be created. So a lot of people were buying a lot of Luna recently. And we did see the price, climb quite dramatically up about 1 to 200% at one point. And that's all fine and dandy, but to be honest, I think that for the most part, there is still going to be so much risk involved with purchasing the new Luna that I'm not even gonna do it. And I'm just gonna be dead honest. So I held Luna and I held AUST pre-attack, and I do still hold my Luna post-attack, right? So I will be included in. I'm gonna tell you guys my mindset here. So I'm going to be included in the post-attack Luna holders at 10%, pre-attack AUST holders at 10%, and pre-attack Luna holders at 35%. So I'm going to be available. I will have 55%. What's the right word for that? I meet the criteria for this 55% that's being allocated, and I'm just gonna take that. And I'm just going to take that, and I'm just going to allow that to be there. But I am not going to be buying any Luna when this thing comes out. And the reason being is just I'm taking this almost as if it's like a pre-sale in a way, with everyone pissed off already. And that's just not a good idea, right? So whenever we see pre-sales coming out, what happens, right? Well, usually people make a good bit of money. Those are people who had allocation, and those people who get airdrop their tokens, they tend to, take some profits off the table and claim whatever money they can. And, as soon as it launches, there are the people who buy it as soon as it launches. But then we start to see people really starting to catch wind of it. It's starting to get excitement, and it just launched, so there's all that hype. So it goes up for a while. But then when it crashes hard because all of those people are taking profits. Well, now we have to imagine that we're in a similar situation, but all of those people who are going to be making profits lost a shit ton of money before this thing launched due to the same project, right? So I'm under the belief that the people who are going to take profits are going to take profits more aggressively. I think if my personal bag goes up, like 100, 200, 300%, yeah, I'm going to get out. I'm going to take my profits and get out because I'm still trying to recoup the losses that I took on Luna. I had $12,000, $13,000 in Luna that turned into nothing, right? So I'm personally going to still try to take my profits off the table and recover whatever lost, money that I can. And so the fact that so many people are in similar situations as me, but with even more money, I simply cannot visualize that even with the vesting schedule, even with them having 30% unlocked on Genesis and, only 70% being unlocked over the next 2 to 4 years, depending on how much Luna you held, I simply cannot envision that there's going to be enough people buying Luna and excited about Luna and accumulating on Luna to counter the amount of pissed off investors who want their money back, right? So my personal opinion is that it is going to take a lot of time for that first 30% that's unlocked at TGE, the token generation event. It's going to take a lot of time for the people who are going to get out during the TGE to get out during the TGE. And then, as all of them are getting out, causing this immense selling pressure on the price, that's realistically going to probably be much stronger than any buying pressure. Then we got to understand that once the vesting schedule goes into effect, and once a lot of people have sold the majority of their positions, or the ones who are going to hold are holding, but once the people who say are going to get out, once they get out, then there could be some type of stability for anyone who plans on holding. But I don't think that stability comes anytime soon, because realistically, who's going to buy this shit right now? There is no trust, because people are going to say, sure, there is no stable coin. But at the end of the day, we got to understand that what happened with Luna is simply due to the team and a lack of preparation for the worst case scenario. And whenever your fundamental flaws in a company that you believed was flawless, whenever you're Kwon and you are talking shit to anyone who talks shit to you, basically saying that there's no way it could die, while at the same time knowing it could die. Whenever you do things like that, and those are due to your fundamental mistakes as a business, who is realistically, as an institution, going to invest billions of dollars? Who's going to invest millions of dollars? Who's going to do that immediately? No, what's going to need to happen is that there's going to need to be a lot of time allocated for Luna to prove that they are capable of continuing forward as a crypto company, blockchain, and project with the belief and ecosystem that they can continue and prove that they can do it, right? Because realistically, until they prove that they can even be anything without UST, who's going to trust them? What institutions are going to go into them? It simply just will not happen. Okay. And so for that reason, I'm personally just like, why the frick would I buy this thing right now? Why would I buy this thing as soon as it launches? Why would I be getting in on this thing? It doesn't make sense. It simply doesn't make sense. I don't trust Luna. I simply don't. I look at Luna without UST, without Anchor Protocol, without them as nothing but another Phantom or, just another one of those layer ones. And what competitive edge do they have that overpowers the fact that they lost a lot of people millions and billions of dollars? I don't see it. Simply just don't see it. I hate to be the Debbie Downer here, but I don't see it. Okay, so what am I going to do? When this thing launches, if it goes up a couple 100%, I'm going to sell it. I'm going to get out with whatever I can get out in. And then I'm going to let, of course, that 70% that's going to go into a vesting period that I believe unlocks after 6 months. I'm going to just let it sit, obviously. And then I'm going to go from there. If when it unlocks after the cliff, then I'm going to decide, okay, do I want to keep it? Are they showing signs of progress or are they not? But I highly do suggest, I'm not a financial advisor, you make your own decisions, you blah, 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 blah. But do understand that pre-sales crash when they launch. And those are things people are excited about. Those are things people don't have a bad taste in their mouth about. Those are things that have a future that is still very exciting. Luna's future is very unclear, extremely unclear. And what all of us have to be aware of is the arbitrage that's happening. The amount of people who accumulated in this, I can't really see it. I can't move this back, which is annoying. But the amount of people who, I can do it like this, hold on. Accumulated in this, but as soon as the proposal started to go through and they knew that the snapshot was going to take place on May 27th in Singapore, as soon as they knew that, what did they do? They wanted to make their money back, so they started to accumulate in here with the understanding and the belief that there could very possibly be a pump as soon as it launches, maybe something like this. And those of them who bought in right here are going to then be, you know, they're going to get their allocations, of course, being distributed out in this manner. And then from there, they're going to sell it. They're going to take their profits. That's what they're going to do. There's the gamblers. Terra Classic, or Luna now, is literally like one of the Wall Street bets things right now, you know? So, man, I just don't see it. I really don't see it. I need to see from them now. I do like the proposal, and I talked about that in the last stream. I do like the proposal. I think that it's a fantastic idea in the sense of whatever they have left, for what they have left, this is a good idea. I'll give them that. And I said that in the last stream, right? I said, if they're going to do anything, this is a good thing to do. But that doesn't mean that I trust them, and that doesn't mean that I think it's going to work. It's a good try, and I'm curious to see how this try goes, and I will update you guys as this thing does play out. But realistically, I don't want shit to do with it. I wouldn't dare risk any more of my own money into Luna. I simply just don't see it happening. Okay, and I was just looking at this. I was just looking at this right here. So people are saying Luna is converting into Luna Classic right now. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're undergoing the process of transitioning from Luna to Luna Classic. Obviously, what we can see is that even MicroCap isn't tracking Terra Classic's price, or it is tracking Terra Classic's price, but it has this message up here saying that they're migrating to the V2. So all of those things, it seems like they're putting in the framework right now to do it. So if any weird shit's going on exchanges, it's just because they're making that migration, I'm sure. So overall, guys, I just don't see it, and it's something I won't be taking part in. I would not dare risk any more of my money with this project right now. Yeah. So they're saying it's saying that it's suspended on Binance. It just means that they're getting ready to convert to Terra, the new Terra. So guys, man, just be safe. Just please be safe. I know a lot of people think that this thing is just gonna explode. It might. It's gonna fucking crash as well. I would almost guarantee it. Okay? I would almost guarantee it. So, that's kind of my opinion on the Terra Luna situation. Again, I'm not doing anything. I'm going to sell my... If it just comes out and crashes, I'm probably just going to hold on to my Luna just for the shits and giggles. But if it goes up at all, and I can make any type of gains back, I'm going to sell. And I know the majority of people are going to sell as well. That's not me saying that you should sell, but it means that if I can make some gains, I'm going to make them before everybody starts to sell. So that's that. That's my thoughts. And I hate to be the Debbie Downer. A big moment for Luna, of course, a huge, massive moment that they are still going to take another shot at this thing, but it doesn't mean that I have to support them or that we have to support them, because we don't owe them anything. They kind of owe us something, right? So that is that with Terra Luna. So let's go ahead and let's start to move forward. Now we have some huge updates going on with Bitcoin right now. We can see the market is absolutely moving so fast. So let's talk about what's going on with Bitcoin. We very possibly may be seeing a large bounce relatively soon here, now that we just faked out to the downside. So I'm going to update you guys on that, because this little wick that we saw earlier was very important. Very important, okay? So we're going to cover that, and yeah, we're going to get into it. I'm just going to take a quick sip of water. I feel like we're probably a good ways in right now, right? Yep, about 32 minutes in. Probably have another hour, about another hour or so. I see my camera looks weird. One sec. There we go. Cool. And then there we go. Boom. All right. So let's go ahead. I'm going to open up the chat. I'm just going to reply to a few messages in the chat, a few things here. Please stop with this Luna scam. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, man, look, honestly, I said I don't support it, but I'm going to cover and, let my people know about the things they're looking for. Okay. I would be doing the same thing if I had invested in the Luna before, for sure. Okay. That looks like really no other questions. Okay. So let's talk about what's going on in crypto, in Bitcoin specifically, because this is big. Okay, this is really big with what's happening. So what we've been tracking over the last couple days has been this this descending triangle. Now, originally I thought it was more wedge shaped, but whenever you look at it more from this perspective, it is very triangle-y, right? So looking at this structure here, of course, we know a couple things. Well, what are some things that we know? Well, one thing we know about these types of triangles is that more often than not, they will serve as a continuation pattern. More often than not, we are going to start to work our way at some point below this breakdown target, or, breakdown level to the downside. Now, not only more often than not will we break towards the downside here, but more often than not, they are continuation patterns towards the downside. We also have been tracking the fact that usually these things will happen about 70 to 75% of the way to the apex. And what I mean by that is if you take the distance from the first high that created it to the apex itself, you take the amount of time it is. In this case, it's 25 days. Then what you're going to do is you're going to talk about, okay, well, what's 75% of that? So what we can go ahead and do is I'm going to just get a calculator out. Here we go. Boom. And what we can see, I don't need a graphing calculator. There we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 28 and we're going to do times 0.025. Okay. Oh, no, just 0.25. There we go. Boom. So then we're going to take 28. We're going to take 7 off of it. That puts us at 21. So about 21 days in, usually. Oh, this is 25. My bad. Hold on. Let me get my calculator back out. 25 days, not 28. So we're going to do 25 times 0.25. Boom, that's about 6.25 minus 25. So usually about 18 to 19 days in to this triangle that lasts about 25 days, we'll see a breakout. And as we can see, from there to now, we are sitting at about 16 days. Now, not only are we probably, again, like I said, about 2 to 3 days from a breakout, we also have an interaction coming with the Bollinger Band, or our 20 simple moving average, of course, that runs between our two Bollinger Bands, that should also be happening within the next 2 days. So, for all those reasons, I actually did go over on my Twitter, I mean, literally just, when was this? Expecting this interaction of the 20-day simple moving average on Bitcoin to trigger a breakout or breakdown within the next 48 hours. And you can see literally that was just 13 hours ago. And right after that, we saw this move, right? So we have many reasons to believe that this breakout is very likely going to happen within the next 2 days here, okay? This interaction, this touch, the overall amount of time that we usually spend within these, the fact that we did just get a fake out towards the downside, all of that points to me to say that, okay, something big is about to happen and we need to be ready for it, okay? So what I know is that before this move did happen, I was expecting us to move to the downside out of this. Why? Because this is usually a bear flag, right? This is usually a bearish pennant, bearish flag, whatever you want to call it. I just call it a bearish continuation pattern. A bearish continuation pattern means that more often than not, when you're in a downtrend, we'll enter into this bearish continuation pattern and then continue to the downside. Now, the only way that these things get countered, from what I have observed, is that if we fake out to the downside. What does that mean? A fake out to the downside or a fake out to the upside is whenever you have a structure, a technical structure that you're interacting within, you break out of, then you re-enter back into it. This is called a fake out. This move outside of that structure that then resorts us back into the structure is again called a fake out. Now, a fake out is important because what a fake out does, it says that even though we did get the move we were expecting, the momentum to the top side or the bottom side, if it was down here, was not strong enough to sustain, and that we re-entered back into this, that tends to then create a type of a doubt. In this situation, it creates doubt from the bulls, like, oh man, we broke out and we couldn't hold it. So then there isn't as much confidence. It's kind of a confidence breaker, right? In which we will then usually see a fake out to the upside and a break down to the downside. And of course, the opposite. If we see a fake out to the downside, more often than not, support gets established. The bulls get confident that the bears were not able to maintain the substantial move to the downside, and it usually leads to a breakout to the upside. I don't want to say always, but very often. Okay. So what happened is that if we are tracking the structure of this nature, what happened here is that we had a bearish continuation pattern, and this morning we faked out to the downside. Well, considering the fact that we just faked out to the downside, and considering the fact that we are within 2 days of the average amount of time in which we'll break out of a descending triangle, that kind of tells me that there is now a much stronger chance that we do continue towards the upside here, that we do get a breakout towards the upside. I think a lot of people were nervous about FOMC meeting. I think a lot of people were a little bit concerned about what the results of that were going to be. And I think the fact that we did see just the Fed sitting in a very similar position as they were before and saying that, hey, although this market is looking ugly, we're going to have to continue doing what we're doing, but we're not going to increase it right now. We're not too concerned that we're going to have to go up to 75 or 100. And we are going to go a little bit more restrictive, but we are showing concern of financial stability of this market. It says to me that they are going to slowly work on this thing to get that inflation down without killing the economy. And I think, again, that suggests that anything unexpected probably won't happen, okay? So I think that sheds a little bit of light of confidence on this market right now, as they're saying, okay, well, that's not as bad as we thought it was going to be, or it could have been. Maybe we're in a position now to see the next one, or the next inflation or interest rate hike, or the next interest rate hike. One of these start to show us the peak for inflation. And then as we start to peak, more confidence may come out to say that, okay, we're finally in a position for ourselves to see this market chill the heck out. Okay. So with that, I think that did kind of lead to what we're seeing from this market right now. Now, it wasn't only Bitcoin that sustained this move. We're going to focus on Bitcoin TA in a second here, but it wasn't only Bitcoin that sustained this move. No, we saw Ethereum break to the downside of its own wedge. Look at this, fake out, tried to recover it here. We can go back out to something like Solana. Solana came right down past this key point of support here and has tried to recover it at this point, okay? So as you can see, many of these important cryptos are holding these key levels that could possibly be this, kind of the stimulus to push us back up towards the upside. It simply just comes down to, do we do it or do we not? Because you guys know, I have been shorting this thing if it falls, and I'm not scared to short it, but I am in a position right now where I want this market to start to see some growth so I can start to accumulate. So let's talk about my game plan. I'm going to talk about what I'm looking for from Bitcoin, how I'm looking for this thing to go, and what are going to be some key indicators that we are breaking up towards the upside in an updated version of what we talked about on Sunday. Well, let's go ahead and let's get into it. Okay, so the biggest focus that I have right now is the 20 simple moving average. There is not another level that I am more concerned about than the 20 simple moving average. The reason being is because we've talked about, all the time, the amount of times that we will simply just bounce off this thing and bounce off this thing. Hold on. Here we go. Can I pin this? I'm going to pin this. There you go. Anyone who has, let's see. There we go. Okay. So, the crypto factor, long time no see, my friend, says, I should agree with your analysis, but you need to understand that the more times the support line gets hit, the more potential of a breakdown. Yeah, of course. Always. But the thing about it is that doesn't take away from the substantiality of the fake outs to the downside, because we are seeing an equivalent amount of times towards the upside. Okay. So, but I do agree. If we keep touching this bottom side here, like if we come back down to it, yeah, very strong likelihood we do break down to the downside. Okay. So, let's talk about this break to the upside here. Let's talk about what I would need to be seeing. We faked out to the downside. We recovered back above it. There's a chance we do start to work our way up. Let's talk about what that looks like. What that looks like from me is this 20 simple moving average. And I've said it time and time again. How do these Bollinger Bands work? The Bollinger Bands are pretty simple. Okay? The Bollinger Bands are very simple. You have a simple moving average. Okay? That is usually an orange line. Then, on top of that simple moving average, you have another line. That's a blue line here. That's going to the top side of your Bollinger Bands. The bottom side, you have another blue line. Now, these blue lines are standard deviations. What you're going to do, didn't mean to do that. What you're going to do is, if you want to find where the top side of your Bollinger Band envelope is, it's quite simple. You're going to then go ahead and say, you're going to go from your 20 simple moving average and do 2 standard deviations to the top side. You don't need to know what a standard deviation is. If you took like calculus in maybe like 11th grade, you might remember it a little bit, but it's not important. You're going to take 2 standard deviations from the 20 SMA to the top side and 2 standard deviations to the bottom side. Now, those 2 standard deviations are going to give you your Bollinger Band envelope. Bottom side, top side. Now, generally in crypto, from what I've kind of established and read through and kind of done my research on, just looking at the past, crypto usually will only maintain being within the top of your Bollinger Band envelopes or the bottom of your Bollinger Band envelopes for a short amount of time. Now, sometimes it gets extended. Sure, that's what the market does. But for the most part, when you start to see the top side or bottom side of your Bollinger Band envelopes getting interacted with, you will usually start to see that resortment back to that 20 SMA, in which I call the big decision. The big decision then says, do we get rejected and continued back down towards the bottom side, or rejected and continued back up to the upside? Or do we clear it and start to attempt to make our move to the bottom side off the top side? Or do we clear it and start to make our move from the bottom side to the top side in this manner? So what we can see is that we're about to see Bitcoin in the overall crypto market make its big decision. Okay, looky here. So what happened? We came down off the bottom side of our Bollinger Bands and we got rejected off the 20 SMA, as per usual. Now we got super extended to the downside here, and we knew the whole time we're falling, like, okay, we're extended to the downside. We need to start to expect a bit of consolidation or a bounce relatively soon to come retest this 20 SMA. Why? Because it can only maintain being outside its Bollinger Band envelope for short amounts of times. So, for that reason, What ended up happening is that we consolidated. Sometimes you'll bounce, in which you'll see this happen. You'll bounce back up to that 20 SMA, and sometimes you'll consolidate down to it. And now we're about to make the big decision. If I clear this chart off, you can see that this big decision should come within the next 2 days. And what we can expect is that Bitcoin is going to decide, are we going to get rejected and continue to the downside? The downside is currently sitting around $26,900. Let's call it $27,000. Okay. So do we get rejected, break to the downside of this key level of support, and then boom, we're in a situation where we're very likely continuing towards the downside? Or do we clear this 20 SMA and open up the door? At that point, we very likely do break this key point of resistance here. Do we then break that 20 SMA, look to establish this previous level of resistance as support, and continue back up to what could be up to $33,000 to $34,000 at the top side of our Bollinger Band envelope? That's the decision that we need to wait to see, okay? I'm not the type of person who's going to try to guess what's going to happen. I react to what happens, right? I did this trade over on my Twitter not too long ago, just a couple days ago, in which what happened, right? We started to see a lot of bearish divergence forming as we touched the top side of this key level of resistance, which is now the top side of our triangle. We saw that happen. We started to see the breakdown go in. I went in on this thing on a short trade, 3x leverage. We, of course, did see the bearish divergence and coming to fruition. We saw the bearish divergence really forming. Then we saw the rejection off the top side there as we did get rejected. That was my confirmation that, okay, I'm going to go in. 9.3% gain in about 5 hours from a 3x leverage trade, right? Just because it moved to the downside 3 points off a rejection. I always wait for these confirmations of a rejection or a clearing. So my game plan, in terms of if we are now going to see the price of Bitcoin breaking its way back towards the upside, now that we did get what could be considered a fake out to the downside here, is going to be the clearing of the 20 simple moving average and the holding above the 20 SMA. And people don't understand that. Because just like we can fake out of structure, we can fake out of moving averages. We can fake out of exponential moving averages. What happened back here, right? We broke back above this 20 SMA. We broke above it. We did good. Or even here. Look at that. We got above it there. And there, and there. We've gotten above this 20 SMA multiple times, but we've not held it. Failed to hold it, failed to close above it, failed to close above it, and as soon as we failed to close above it, what happened? We lost it. But look what happened here. Look at this little example in which we saw the price push from bottom to top, 27%. What happened? We broke this 20 SMA, we came back, we back tested and held it. As soon as we back tested and held it, we set in this uptrend, boom, extended to the top side, came back, lost it, resorted to the bottom side, of course. But these times that we hold it as support are the times we grow. The times that we fail to hold it, we usually will go straight back down from wherever we came from. Similar to here, and all of these rejections and here, all of these times we fail to hold it. It just doesn't go well, right? So my whole game plan right now is looking, do we clear it and do we stay above it? Personally, I like to see 2 to 3 daily closes above a 20 SMA before I'm confident that we've cleared it, okay? Because more often than not, this happens. One day above it, the next day's below it. It's like, that's very common, okay? So I'm looking for 2 daily closes in the green above this 20 SMA for me to get confident. If I do see that happen, I'm going to then go ahead and accumulate in, more of a confident manner to say that, okay, we're probably going to at least see this thing enter into a range and consolidate, in which I can accumulate here expecting some type of drive to the upside. Or we're going to start to finally work our way back to the top side. Why? Because I'm still under the conviction that as long as this market chills, right? As long as no more bad news comes out, as long as the Fed stays the path, as long as nothing ridiculous happens in the world, that we can still very possibly see Bitcoin's price resort back up to its weekly 20 simple moving average, in which is still sitting around $38,000. I think we are going to come retest this at some point within the next few months as we are overextended to the bottom side of the Bollinger Bands here. Okay, it works the same way. Look, every time we've touched the bottom side, we've gone here, touched the bottom side, we've gone here. So I am under the belief that now that we've touched the bottom side, as long as the macro environment does allow, that we will resort back to this 20 SMA at some point. And so if we are capable of breaking the first step, which is getting above that daily 20 simple moving average, I'm going to become more confident that a move of this nature back up to these levels on a macro bounce is very possible. So the current outlook is, do we get back above the 20 SMA or do we not? That is going to allow us to decide whether or not it's a good time to accumulate, in my opinion. There is a macro level of resistance seemingly between 30,400 and 30,200. As you can see, this little level right here is very clearly serving as rejection. So what I would say is, even if the 20 SMA does come down here, look for us to break 30,400 and hold 2 days above 30.4K. And if we're capable of doing so, I am going to accumulate there. Okay, that's my game plan. Now, be aware Because sometimes, as Crypto Factor did mention earlier, and I appreciate that a lot, if we see the price of Solana, or I said Solana because I read a Solana chat, but if we see the price of Bitcoin come back down towards the bottom side here and start retesting the bottom side of this triangle, do be aware that it is now easier for us to lose this key level of support. So what ends up happening, which is weird, right, is that especially when you have bearish pennants, bearish flags, whatever you want to call it, is that if you see a fake out, just know the breakout is usually pretty close behind it, because the likelihood is we're probably going to come back up to retest the top side here because we faked out down here and the bears had no success. But since this window to the downside is now open, I call this the opening of the window. Since it's now open, that then allows us that if we come back to, retest it, there becomes a stronger chance we do lose this easier, because we didn't lose it here. 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 But the bears finally gained enough strength for a second to get us below this level. That tells us, okay, now that window's open. So if we don't start to get this breakout soon, get back above that 20 SMA, get back to 30.5, 30.4K, start to make this move, and we start coming, dabbling around here, do expect this window that is now open for us to fall out of it, okay? So in terms of if we do start to see this thing fall, my personal game plan, if we start to see this thing fall, I am going to prepare some short trades. You guys know, as I mentioned earlier, I will short this market if I feel necessary. I'm not scared to short it just because I'm bullish on it long term. I'm making gains. I want to make gains wherever it goes. I don't care where, okay? So my current game plan is this. If we lose the bottom side here, there's two options, and I don't know which one I'm going to take. But what I'm looking for here is that if we do see the price come back down like this, boom, 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 and we lose this thing again, there is a very, very strong likelihood we at least resort back down to this level of support here, between this little 20, let's call it 28,000 to 27.7K, this little $300 range here. There's a very strong chance we do that, okay? And so for that reason, there is the possibility of a short trade there. If you were, say, to see a 4-hour close here, it starts to push down maybe 4%. Of course, I usually do 2.5 to 3x leverage. So very possibly we could see 9-10% gains there. I think that's a trade that I would take on a very small, very, very, very small unit. I wouldn't be putting a lot of money into that trade because this market's crazy right now. Okay. Because do we enter into some type of pattern where we're doing crazy shit like this? I don't know. But, that's not necessarily the one I would be the most confident in. Where I would be the most confident in terms of shorting is the moment we start to see closes below this level at $27.6 thousand. If we start to see the price of Bitcoin working its way below 27.6K, that is the point in which I am under the belief we are continuing this leg to the downside. This continuation pattern is intact, and we very possibly are going to see in my opinion, we push probably. I would be quite confident to say we push to 26.6 to maybe even as low as the range low down here, which could look like a fall of anywhere up to, another 4.5 to even 9%, which again on my 2.5, 3x leverage, that could be anywhere between 12 to even up to 27, 28% there in gains. That is the trade I would be more confident in taking. This level has very clearly served as support. It's very clearly served as being important in terms of more of a macro bottom here. And so if we are to lose that level, that does put us in a position to start to continue to the downside. And I would start to open up my short trades here with stop losses on my short trades set back above this level. So if we were to say the price do this, boom, starts to lose this key level of support, breaking to the downside, boom, I'll start to short, expecting this continuation here. If I'm wrong and the price starts to come back up, if at any point we re-clear this previous level of support, then I'm going to say, all right, I got faked out again to the downside on a more macro sense, and there is a strong chance that we are now in a position to, go back to the upside. I don't see that happening if we lose this key level at 27.6K. But obviously, you never know. Okay, so that's my game plan. I'm looking to accumulate on the breakout of the 20 simple moving average and clearing $30.4 thousand. If we make that move, I'm looking to accumulate. But if the price of Bitcoin does go and make that move, that's the only thing I will be doing. because there is still a lot of turbulence ahead. And if we do see it make a move to the downside, possible short trade from loss of support down to next level support, but more confident would be the loss of 27.6K, this macro low here. Especially if I get a retest, that would be where I'd be the most confident that we revisit some of these lower lows here. Okay, so that's my game plan. That's what I'm looking for. And of course, I will be doing all of those trades on the channel as much as I can, update you guys, and more specifically, of course, in the Patreon that is going below there. That is where I did this trade here. So let's talk about the rest of the market. Now that we've kind of know what Bitcoin's looking at, and let's kind of transfer this thing into our altcoins. Let's talk about what they have going on and what the outlook is for the altcoin market. Now, when I start with altcoins, what I usually start to look at is Bitcoin dominance. Now, I went ahead and let me see if I can get this open up. One sec, because I sent this out. I sent this out recently. Okay. Anyway, no, I can't find it. Oh, well, that's cool. So what we can see going on from Bitcoin dominance is a successful backtesting of support and now the breakout, right? We, of course, had like this little weird ascending-ish wedge forming here, right? Something of this nature, in which we faked out to the top side. We came back down, backtested support, and broke out again. And so what we can see is that we had a bit of a continuation pattern here. And so as this did occur, what we can see is that it allowed us to break this macro wedge. Now, this macro wedge on Bitcoin dominance has always been important to me because there was a strong chance that if the market was going to allow and we were going to go into a second leg of the crypto bull market, what it was going to look like was Bitcoin dominance breaking to the downside and continuing this here. That's what that would have looked like. I said, but if this is out the picture and this doesn't happen, very likely one of two things is going to happen. Whether Bitcoin is just going to take off for some odd reason in the middle of a bull market and just go by itself, or the market's going to crash. The market's going to crash. People are going to start to funnel their money out of altcoins back into Bitcoin. And as they funnel their money back into from altcoins into Bitcoin, it's going to resort back to the upside, break this wedge here, and then the ball is completely in Bitcoin's hands. Okay, the whole entire setup for the rest of this, the next couple months is now in Bitcoin's hands because Bitcoin dominance is clearly broken out and is starting to set some new, some new levels here. So considering the fact that we've seen this breakout, I do expect we're going to see Bitcoin dominance revisiting 47 to 48, but maybe even up to 50%. Okay, I think this is going to continue. Now, how does that affect altcoins, right? How does that affect Ethereum, Solana, AVAX, BNB, Phantom, Matic, Sand? How does that affect them? Well, the way this affects them is because it says something. What it says is that Bitcoin's probably going to do better than them. Now, let's talk about the environments in which Bitcoin does better than AVAX. Bitcoin does better than Solana. Bitcoin does better than BNB. A situation in which Bitcoin continues to the upside. When does this usually happen? Well, there's two distinct scenarios and they're both extreme. The first one is that the market crashes dramatically, similarly to what we saw earlier. And if I do go to full screen mode, you can see, in which we're seeing days like today, where AVAX is down 9%, Solana is down 6%, BNB is down 3%, Phantom 4%, Matic 4%, Sandbox doing decent, Engine down 5%, 9% on Atom, etc. All of our alts down significantly, but Bitcoin's only down 0.05%. It says that people are funneling money from those alts into Bitcoin. And as we see the transfer of power from alts to Bitcoin, well, what does that say about Bitcoin dominance? What that says about Bitcoin dominance is that it's going to go up. Altcoin dominance is going to go down because money is being transferred from altcoins to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is then taking up more, a more significant portion of the total market cap of crypto, leading Bitcoin dominance to go up substantially. So what that could entail is a crash. Right? What that could entail is a continuation of a crash that Bitcoin very possibly still could break towards the downside here. And as it does break towards the downside, maybe 4 or 5%, our alts do start to lose 6, 7, 8, 9, 10%, losing momentum much faster than Bitcoin, causing Bitcoin dominance to climb quite substantially. Let's talk about the times that we've seen that happen. Well, what I want to look at is from April of 2019. Let's talk about this first jump. From January of 2018 to March of 2018, when we saw this huge break to the upside here. What happened from January 2018 to March of 2018? Let's go back. Let's go back in time. March of 2018. here we go. To January of 2018. Let's go ahead. Oh, wait, hold on. What was it again? One more time. What were those dates? Because I want it perfect. I want the exact dates. I should have looked at this here. Let's see. No, not that one. One sec. This was January 18th, January 16th to March 31st. Perfect. Okay. January 16th to March 31st. What happened here? Well, Bitcoin crashed. Let's go January 16th. Boom. There. Oh, no, not that one. Boom, here we go. Let's get this pulled up. January, let's see with that, to March 31st. Okay. What was this? What happened? Over the course of January 16th to March 31st, we saw a downtrend. Now, we did see a bounce, of course. That bounce didn't really affect Bitcoin dominance at all, but it was a general downtrend. People, we had just came off an all-time high. People were super excited about Bitcoin at the time. It just touched 20,000. They were thinking it was going to 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, whatever. And we started to see that confidence wavered fast, in which people were like, okay, Bitcoin is the place to be right now. Some of these other altcoins are shit. We don't really know exactly how long, if they're going to be able to make it out of what could be the first big bear market, right? And so for that reason, we saw that confidence shift into Bitcoin rather than alts, so that even though Bitcoin was falling, right? Even though it was falling, it was still, its Bitcoin dominance was growing because people were moving money out of their alts into Bitcoin. Let's go to Ethereum, January 16th to March 31st of 2018. This chart doesn't, oh wait, yeah, it should have it actually. Hold on, let's see. Let's go back. January 16th to March 31st. What happened here? Ethereum fell in that time frame 75%. In that same time frame, let's see, I would like to see the exact number here. Bitcoin fell from January 16th to March 31st, about 55%. So Ethereum fell 20% more than Bitcoin did in the same time frame. Why? Because of confidence. People are more confident in Bitcoin. So for that reason, Bitcoin dominance climbed. So what we can say is that right now, as we are starting to see the possibility of a Bitcoin dominance breakout, I think in our current market, the likelihood is that that is a result of a crash from our altcoins in which Bitcoin is falling, but not falling as fast. Now let's talk about the other outcome. How else could this happen? Well, what we can see is that there's another thing that tends to happen. And there's kind of this common narrative in crypto that like we go into a bear market, and then Bitcoin goes up, then large caps go up, then altcoins, the MicroCap altcoins go up, then like the bullshit starts, the shit coins come around, then we restart, okay? And what sometimes happens is that Bitcoin is the first one to lead, you try to figure out what's happening with this waffle. So what sometimes happens is that Bitcoin will be the first one to lead the pack. Everyone gets confident in Bitcoin. That's the one that everyone's talking about, focused on. Bitcoin dominance is doing well. Ethereum, Bitcoin's falling. So Bitcoin is the main focus. And then Bitcoin takes off, right? We put in a macro bottom on the Bitcoin charts, and Bitcoin just takes off. And then what ends up happening, let's talk about last summer. I believe last summer was a great example. What happened from July 22nd of 2021? Let's see here. Right here. Bitcoin dominance just absolutely took off, right? This was a great example in which Bitcoin dominance just went boom, right to the upside. I mean, a huge shot, broke both of these previous highs. I mean, absolutely climbed to the top side as Bitcoin made this beautiful move, and broke out of these summer lows here, right? We had all this capitulation. Everyone was all scared and whatever. And Bitcoin led the charge. And then the rest of the market followed it. So sometimes when we see these breakouts for Bitcoin dominance, what happens is that it's Bitcoin leading the charge. Bitcoin takes off, rebounds back up to say $36,000. Maybe it even comes back up to the 20 SMA, right? Maybe it does this, right? Maybe we see Bitcoin just do this shit, which I don't see this happening, but it's possible, which we just shoot straight up and we come back up to this 20 SMA. It leads the charge. And then we start to see Bitcoin dominance take off towards some of these key levels of resistance right here, right here. It breaks out to one of these. And then we figure out if we're going to maintain that move or not. Who knows? Who knows? Right? Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But what I do know is that when Bitcoin dominance breaks out of things, it is usually dramatic and something pretty freaking explosive happens. So what I would say right now is that the main focus needs to be on Bitcoin, because it seems to be in a position, in my opinion, that it's going to outperform the rest of them, right? And so I personally wouldn't even be accumulating altcoins other than Ethereum, because I just have a toxic belief in Ethereum. I wouldn't really be doing anything outside of Bitcoin, because whether Bitcoin is the one that takes off or Bitcoin starts to crash, it's either going to crash less than the rest or be the first one to move. And so it seems like Bitcoin is the best bet right now. Okay, it seems like Bitcoin, due to Bitcoin dominance, is the best bet right now. Now, we can either further support that by looking at the Ethereum Bitcoin pair. The Ethereum Bitcoin pair is basically a ratio. It's a comparison. How is Ethereum performing in comparison to Bitcoin? And what we can see is we got a breakdown, right? In which Bitcoin started to do better than Ethereum, obviously. And as we did have this macro symmetrical triangle, which I thought was a bullish pennant, but served as 2 slams in the face, has now broken to the downside. Now, not only breaking to the downside, but getting rejected off the bottom side here. We saw this bounce, we got the rejection here, and of course that did lead us to seeing this continuation towards the bottom side. Give me 1 second, I think, yeah, I keep getting these scam calls. Anyway, so for that reason, when we see Bitcoin dominance en route up, making a breakout to the upside, with Ethereum Bitcoin itself making a clear break to the downside with a rejection here, a bounce, a failed rejection, boom, continuation to the downside, it says that Ethereum likely won't even outperform Bitcoin right now. And that is going to be likely due to a very extreme move, where it looks like Bitcoin either crashing with the rest of the market crashing more, or the rest of the market doing like this with Bitcoin doing that. Okay, so for that reason, again, it does seem as if Bitcoin is the best place to be right now. Okay. So, someone said the best bet is going out and enjoy summer and ice cream. That sounds amazing. You guys do that, and I will be here giving you news if anything important does happen. So, with that in mind, with us knowing that Bitcoin is the best bet and altcoins aren't necessarily the main focus right now, in my opinion, that does lay the foundation for the next bit of technical analysis I'm going to do, to say that even if I say I would buy it or I would sell it, whatever, that's not where my main focus is right now, and I'm simply just individualizing that crypto, but my general focus is still on Bitcoin, okay? So let's talk about Ethereum. Now, I'm an Ethereum, I wouldn't say maxi, but I'm very, very Ethereum, like, woohoo, Ethereum, like, put all my life savings into it, whatever. No, I didn't obviously do that, but I would be down, okay? Like, if Ethereum goes like $900, yeah, I'm just going to spend every last dollar I have on it. Whatever happens, happens. But what we can see from Ethereum at this point is that we did go ahead and give ourselves a fake out to the downside. Now, I'm very curious to see what's going to happen here, because now that we have this second touch, I would almost be willing to just draw this, and I'm going to just make it 1 point. And I'm just going to leave it there. And I'm going to leave that as a reference point. Because now that we've seen a fake out to the bottom side of this wedge, it showed here that the bull stepped in. As soon as we broke to the downside, the bull stepped in and pushed it right back up. And if we can maintain this, there is a strong chance we do start to come back up towards the top side of this wedge here. But it's almost an interesting thought that if we don't start to see, this breakout happening soon, and we start to maybe do this, that we could be entering into what could be this, okay? Which is the same exact thing that Bitcoin is in, just a little bit more of a defined one here, right? And that almost implies that Bitcoin is ahead. That Bitcoin is a little bit ahead right now. That these formulas and structures and formations that we're seeing from Bitcoin are being created on our alts, but just in a little bit more delayed fashion here. Now, that is a bear pennant if I've ever seen one in my life, right? If that does happen, in which we say, boom, we get bounced and we come back down to this level here and we find some support, yeah, that's a bear pennant if I've ever seen one. But it is very important to monitor, how do we interact up here? Do we work our way back up here and get rejected? Or do we literally just now, just come back to the downside and start to lose this level? Then obviously, it's a breakout to the downside. But so my current game plan and my current opinion is that Ethereum isn't one I'm actually buying right now. Now, you guys know I will buy some Ethereum with no regret. But I think that there's a lot of risk in buying at this point. One, we are under the 20 SMA still. It does work very similarly to how it does on Bitcoin. You can see rejection, rejection, rejection. 3 hard rejections just last month tells me that buying under that level is a bad idea. So as we do get this rejection, or the possible rejection here, I am still not very confident in the short-term ability to make any type of growth, even up to $2,300 until we clear that 20 SMA. So I'm going to wait for that. But more importantly, I'm going to be monitoring the downside here. I'm going to watch this closing wedge, and I'm going to watch this little ascending level of support that we have off of these 2 wick lows. And I'm going to see if we hold them. If we hold these two, start to work our way back up to the upside, yeah, I'm going to accumulate once we break that 20 SMA. But if we start to see the price rolling at any point below these levels here, do start to expect the price of Ethereum to continue to, in my opinion, what very likely starts to then be the next interaction with, I'd probably go ahead and say $1,700 is next in terms of macro support. If we start to lose, about 1847, which is where our current level of support is, if we lose that, we do start to close below it. We're probably going to push to the bottom side of what could be an ascending level of support here. And then from there, 1699 to $1,700, which is this extremely important macro level of support here, will be interacted with. Now, that does lead me to my next point to say that the level of support we're dabbling with at $1,700 is extreme. Okay, it is very extreme. Now, the reason I say that is because in the summer lows of last year, we saw some of the worst days that just ever, right, in crypto, right, in which we saw Ethereum from, let's call it May 12th to May 23rd, lose 60%, right? In the course of 2 weeks, Ethereum crashed 60%. So for that reason, of course, the threat of this fall just continuing was scaring everyone. But even in a time of that nature, we've established this level at 1,700 and we never lost it. Okay, we put it as resistance here, we put it as resistance here, and we never lost it again. And as we did start to come back down to some of these wick lows, where do we wick right down to? That same $1,700 level. So do understand that if the price of Ethereum is successfully capable of losing $1,700, I'm going to start to short Ethereum. I'm going to short it to its next breakdown target of liquidity, which looks like 1515, and then from there I'm going to short it to $1,300. I buy Ethereum a lot. But I'm still willing to short this thing, possible 10% loss from key breakdown target from point A to point B. And I would still be willing to short it from point B to point C, in which we could possibly see another correction of up to 14%. Each one of these trades bringing in profits of 20, 30, 40% a piece, okay? If we're capable of losing such a strong macro level of support, there is a very strong chance that we do start to see this crash kind of intensify, which could support the idea that Bitcoin dominance is about to take off. So we need to be aware of that, okay? So buying while we're under the 20 SMA, buying under this point of rejection, bad idea. I would not condone that at all in any type of way. And personally speaking, my buying won't come until we break above the 20 SMA and this level. And if we do start to break to the downside, my first short would happen if we lose 1,700 on a daily close. My second short would happen if we lose 1,500 on the daily close, expecting, moves of this nature. Okay, so that's Ethereum. And that's kind of what I'm looking out for. Now, let's talk about the big boys, or the ones, more important on my channel. So, what I told you guys, let's move over into Solana. And let's go ahead and transfer this now into the altcoin TA segment. So, looking at Solana, what we can see here is that Solana came down to the key level of support that I identified in the last video. In the last video, I told you guys that Solana clearly had this little level of support it was trying to hold on to, this little $49 level, in which we bounced off of it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days in a row. We were holding it quite well. And I told you, if we break to the downside of what looked like, this type of formation here, there's a strong chance we come revisit these range lows, currently looking at about $44. I said, expect us to push here. Expect it. We drew out this line at 44, 46, and I told you, expect it. And what happened? We went straight down to that level. Now, I told you that if we lose $44.50, that there's a strong chance that we do start to come back down to this macro level of support being the 618 to 786 level from this swing low to swing high event. Obviously, the way in which you are going to draw that is simple. What you're going to do is you're just going to go in, you're going to take your Fibonacci, go from the bottom side to the top side here, and boom, there's your 618 to 786 zone. If you do turn on my settings, in which, nope, that ain't it. In which you can see here. Boom, these are my settings. There you go. So what I would go ahead and say is that at this point, we have wicked. And we wicked into the 618 to 786 level, and we have held it at this point, recovering this previous level of support. So while we are above this zone here, between, again, $44 to $40, I am still confident that Solana, just like the rest of the market, could very possibly still continue to the upside. But what I know is that if at any given point we close below $40, I will short to $35, which is a move of 10% on 2.53x leverage is 25 to 30% in gains. But while we are above, say, $40, we are still in a position where we need to see the price of Solana recover the descending wedge that we have been tracking since realistically November of last year. This key level of support is going to interact as resistance until we are very capable of just strongly clearing it, obviously. So for that reason, considering the fact that it seems as if we could have some type of double bottom here, what I'm looking for from Solana is to break above $59. If we break above $59, especially anytime soon, putting in something of a W bottom and clearing this mid-level of resistance, as well as the bottom side of that macro descending wedge, I will accumulate some Solana in this level, expecting that a new phase in the market is on the way, in which we did see a breakdown, a fake out to the downside, a break back in, and maybe even eventually later this year, see this re-clearing of the top side of this wedge here. Remember, if we turn off our logarithmic functions, there is still the possibility that we are looking at a very strong couple waves here, right? Now it's very extended, and this is why I keep my logarithmic functions on, because it is so extended. But what you can see here is that we're still very possibly putting in this ABC correction off of the 5 strong waves to the upside, boom, 5 to the upside, ABC correction to the downside, which could look like something of this nature, right? First corrective wave to the downside, the impulsive B wave to the upside, the C wave to the downside, and then we possibly start to look to put in our next 5 waves, right? Do we put in the maybe the the 1, 2, the back test, the 3, the 4, the 5, whatever it may be, right? Do we start to work our way out of this thing after possibly seeing the corrective wave to the downside here? Or do we continue this shit and continue this corrective wave to a point that completely invalidates Elliott's wave theory? And then from there, we have to really figure out, okay, well, how low is Solana going to go? So we're in a position right now that is important. And what I want to see from Solana before I'm comfortable in accumulating is getting back into this wedge, which of course does look like it getting back above again, roughly $58 to $59. Now, shorting Solana is simple. Simple process, simple, very easy. First short trade that I have planned for Solana is a loss of $39.45. If we lose $39.45 on a 4-hour daily close, 4-hour to daily close, what I'm going to look to do is short it down to $35. Typically speaking, when we lose this 786 level, even if we bounce back up, more often than not, we will resort back to 35, 37. And so for that reason, since that is a fall of 10 to 11% again, I do want to accumulate probably up to the 25, 30% in gains on this move to the downside here. So that's the game plan with Solana. If Solana does then come back down to lose, $35.37, then of course the door to, revisiting that's an interesting formation there we're not going to cover today, but the door does get open to, $26, $25. Some of these levels here, probably $29 next. So a lot of shorting happening if we lose these key levels of support. First one being right now currently sitting at $39.45. Next one being at $35.37. But again, if we do break back into this wedge, then I am more confident to be accumulating there. And as you guys can see, I have a very common mentality with this. It's not, it's going to go up, so this is what I need to do. No, it's saying, I don't know what it's going to do. I have no idea. I have no clue. Genuinely, no idea what Bitcoin's going to do. What I do know is what a confirmation looks like to me. So I'm just going to sit back and wait and see what happens. And then whenever something happens, I lay out my confirmations, whether it be a clearing of this level, or a clearing of this level, or a clearing of this level, and say, okay, if one of those happens, I'm going to buy it or I'm going to short it. That's my game plan. I don't care where this market goes. I'm trying to make gains to the upside or the downside. That's all my focus is, right? So let's move on. Let's go over into Matic, of course. So what we're going to notice is that the majority of the technical analysis from this point forward is going to be quite redundant. So I'm not going to go in depth about each one like I was. Did I spit? Sorry, I drank a lot of water just now. Oh, man. You have to call me out like that, Crypto Monkey. You're mean, man. Jokes. Appreciate it. So what we can see, again, with Matic is that we are in a position in which the price of Matic is in a very, very similar setup. So again, I'm not going to dive super strong into depth. I'm just going to say what I want to see. From Matic to the upside, for me to be confident in accumulating, 3 confirmations need to happen. First, we need to break the top side. Second, we need to break the 20 SMA. Third, we need to clear this rejective high, currently sitting at 74 cents. We break 74 cents. I think we're very likely going to revisit 88 cents to $1, and I'm comfortable accumulating at these levels, looking for this move of this nature. If Matic does start to break towards it, oh no, it's okay, Crypto Monkey, I'm just joking. If we do start to see Matic breaking towards the downside here and closing specifically below 60 cents, I do expect us to start to see this push down towards 50 cents, and I'm not really all too interested in shorting Matic, just because I have short trades set up for Ethereum and Bitcoin, but I could look to see a short trade, once we lose, say, 56 cents, could be looking to short it down towards 50 cents, but again, that's totally a lot more speculative, and I'm not a super big fan of, shorting some of these microcaps, right? Or I don't want to say microcaps, but smaller cap altcoins, because they're so volatile. It's so easy. It's so much easier to get liquidated. Now I'm on 2.5x leverage, so a liquidation is, I don't want to say impossible, but very unlikely. But these are going to be the ones that wreck your short trades. And so for that reason, if we lose 60 cents, do expect the price of Matic to start to push towards the mid to low 50s, down to some of these levels here, maybe even interacting with this level of support here, right? In which we very possibly could start to see this playing out. Maybe some type of descending wedge playing out. Maybe if we got rid of that and we start looking at it in this perspective, that's totally feasible. To say if we come down past below this previous close, maybe 54, 52 cents, something like that. But again, I'm not really too interested in shorting. I'd rather just wait for my accumulation, which comes once we clear this rejective high at 75 cents up here. Okay, this is where I'd like to buy. Gonna turn that green so you can see it. Screenshot it if you'd like to. Let me clean it up a little bit. There we go, and I'm gonna give you a price label. Go ahead and screenshot it if you like. Okay, so that's the game plan. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, let's look at some BNB. BNB is doing quite well, quite interesting right now. So BNB is in a similar situation as Solana, kind of. Okay, now what I mean by that is that BNB currently is retesting a macro level of resistance and support. What that is going to be $320. The most random number on earth, right? But what BNB is doing right now is we had this level of resistance established. We had this level of support established. Then we flipped it as support again. Now, and then we also set the all-time high there around that area at one point, right? So very interesting. Now, what we can see is that as we crash down below it, we've resorted back up to it, and BNB is stuck at it. And it seems as if we're getting a failed retest here, which could look like a push towards the downside again. So a very easy way that I'm going about this is I'm setting two breakdown targets for BNB, two key levels of support, and I'm setting a clearing target. My current clearing target, and two clearing targets, very easy trade setups here. So with BNB, what I would go ahead and say is that if we start to break back above $321 and hold it, I want to see a successful reestablishment of support. We're then going to look for this macro level, this macro trend line to get cleared. I don't think I don't think the market's in a position for BNB to do this on its own. So I'm not seeing this happening anytime soon, but it is just my bullish thesis. That I want to see this trend line right here getting cleared, which looks like Matic or BNB having to get back to like 370. Now, if we're capable of clearing those two steps, obviously in that process we will have cleared the 20-day simple moving average and successfully held it, then cleared the rejection level, cleared the trend line. That's a good sign that BNB is going to be the leader of the move to the upside, okay? Start retesting some of these highs. But realistically, I'm not confident in accumulating BNB until we break this huge ass level of rejection that could very possibly push us back to the downside here, okay? So currently, I'm looking for this trend line to break on BNB before I get too excited. In terms of bottom side support here, if we do start to fall and continue to fall, which it seems like we very possibly could be, now that we've seemingly been rejected off of this key level of resistance here, what I would say is that 287 and 267 are your two key levels of support. If we do lose 287, we're going to likely come to 267. We lose 267. Expect the push probably, if I had to guess, towards the low 240s to 50s. This little area here. Okay, so if you're looking to short, obviously the loss of this one likely leads to this one. The loss of this one likely leads to the push into the Fibonacci zone. So these would be your two short trades, right? Shorting from point A to point B, and shorting from point B to point C. Very easy setups, okay? The good thing about this market right now is it's allowed us to see the structure quite clearly, and it gives us very clear breakdown targets, okay? Shorting from breakdown target to breakdown targets is always important. Yeah, I covered Solana a little bit ago. And so overall, that's kind of the game plan that I am implementing within the majority of the market right now, okay? We have structure. I'm looking to short from breakdown target to breakdown target, and I'm not even really too interested in accumulating until we break these macro levels of resistance. Whether it's BNB looking to get back above its trend line, whether it's Solana looking to re-enter into the wedge, whether it's even AVAX looking to just simply break this huge level of resistance right here, whether it's Ethereum trying to break out of this one and getting back above its own 20 SMA, whether it's Bitcoin trying to get above its own SMA. Those are the things I'm looking for. I need to see those clearings happen because we still very possibly could get rejected and strong push to the downside, especially with the threat of Bitcoin dominance surging and continuing to really push towards the upside soon here, okay? Now, some of the same cryptos as this applies to is Matic, Sand. Sand is currently in a position in which it is making some of those steps a little early. So the next step for Sand is that, hey, I'm not going to accumulate Sand because I don't think it's going to make a move without the rest of the market right now. But for Sand, who knows? Maybe there is some type of gains on the way of up to, 20, 30% as it possibly wants to come retest its own trend line. Because right now, look, it's broken its 20-day SMA, right? Or it's trying to. So on Sand, I'm saying, look for it to hold outside the 20 SMA. If it holds the 20 SMA, that could be a great buying opportunity to see it come retest this rejection here. You can short-term trade it up to this point, or just accumulate and hope for the best and hope we don't get rejected to the downside. Don't recommend that. But again, so Sand is looking like, all right, looking to clear the 20 SMA. Now the next step is getting back above this trend line here. And then at this point is when I would be accumulating on some Sand. But right now, again, the main focus is getting back above that trend line. You look at Mana, very similar setup here. Okay, this is a crazy chart. I get to drawing when I'm bored. But what we can see here is that Mana is in a very similar situation as Solana, right? In which we are now figuring out, are we going to hold... I appreciate that. I shouted out your channel on the MMA Gurus channel. That's dope. Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to go check that out. So what we can see here is that Mana itself is in this descending wedge. That's usually a continuation pattern to the upside. So for Mana, we're looking, do we break back above the 20-day simple moving average? And if we do, I'm going to accumulate a little bit of Mana. I think that realistically, that would be a good accumulation. And I'm a little bit more confident in it than Sand. That's just my opinion. I think that Metaverse is going to still have its day, in which we do see the Metaverse really catching steam and catching more momentum again. So for that reason, I think Mana could be a great buy, at some of these lower levels. Now that it's lost, I mean, so much value, right? Down 80%, reminiscent of many previous bear markets in which our new altcoins started to see hard crashes before eventually continuing back to the top side. If Mana successfully re-enters into a descending wedge, there we go, re-enters into a descending wedge and holds it, I think there's a strong case to say we could start to push to the top side here, and I'd love to do that. So Mana's definitely a good option. I'm gonna actually move that a little bit higher, make that green. Okay. Gala Games Engine, we've covered all of those in last streams. I don't really want to get too far into them right now. I want to go over ADA, wherever that thing is. There we go. So looking at ADA Cardano sitting at about 49 cents right now, about 50 cents. The issue that I'm having with ADA Cardano right now is there's not much liquidity around these levels. Now, what we can see, though, is a clear level of structural support. Now, what I would go ahead and say with ADA is that it's the same old thing. Okay, and that top side, I'm looking for the breaking of this short-term trend line. I'm looking for us to get back above this level of resistance and then to re-clear its 20 SMA. As you can see, ADA fakes above the 20 SMA a lot. And so for that reason, I want us to break above the 20 SMA currently sitting at 55 cents and hold it. If we hold it here, then I am confident we could see a push back up towards 70. But that's the only time I would be accumulating is if we can get above and hold that 20 SMA. Now, we clearly have a strong level of support sitting at 47 cents. And so for that reason, I would go ahead and say that if we lose 47 cents, we're going to start to dabble with this 618 at 46 cents, as we did see right here. But that does open up the door to 42 cents to 38 cents. So that could be a great short trade. But personally, I would just start to expect, I'm not going to short ADA. It just tends to do the opposite of whatever I want it to do. So for that reason, if we lose 47 cents, expect to see ADA possibly losing another, 10 to 20% before we start to really see another bounce towards the upside here. Okay. So that's kind of my thought process here on ADA. Now, I'm not really going too far into RSIs and MACDs and things like that for this stream, but next stream we will do that to gauge momentum. So ADA, similar story, clear level of resistance, looking for it to get back above. Realistically, I would give it 57 cents or so. Dot, same old thing, same story. Not going to get too far into it again because I don't want to bore you guys. But again, looking for it to break that level of resistance, looking for it to break its 20 SMA. If it's capable of getting realistically back above $11, then it looks a little bit more of an intriguing buy to me. But if we do start to fall under 864, do expect things to get quite ugly, pushing probably towards about $7 or so. So that's the formula. That's the setup, and that's the way I'm looking at the majority of cryptos. They all look about the same right now. So just apply that formula and that setup to whatever crypto you're looking at, and I'm sure it's going to look quite the same. But overall, the market's not looking terrible. In terms of altcoins, we do want to see that breakout happen relatively soon here, and I do believe we are in a position to do so. But it simply just comes down to, does it do it or does it not, right? I mean, it's literally just that simple. So for that reason, the biggest thing that I'm paying attention to right now is, do our alts start to break? Okay, do our alts start to break? Do they start to finally make these moves to the top side, breaking these descending wedges, descending triangles at their end, clearing their 20-day simple moving averages and make them move? Or are they going to get rejected off the 20 SMA and we're going to continue to the downside, in which I'm going to start to short a lot of things, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, or, maybe Matic, but probably not Matic, but most specifically Bitcoin and Ethereum. So that's the setup, and that's what we're watching, monitoring for altcoins, and that's what I think is going to happen. So I do want to transfer this over into microcaps. I want to talk about, we're not going to talk about specific microcaps today. We're not going to look at and do any research on them. Too risky right now, but I do want to give you guys my overall outlook on microcaps and my thoughts. I'm going to talk about some things. Okay, so let's kind of open it up to MicroCap Talk. So let me move this over, of course. So going into MicroCap Talk. So to finish this thing on up, I did want to just kind of mention what is going on in the world of microcaps, why I've just not been dabbling with them, and my thought process on microcap cryptos, okay? Because I feel like I started my channel on SafeMoon, okay? And you probably haven't heard me say that name on my channel in about 8 months. I started my channel, my crypto side of this channel on SafeMoon. I started it on Gem Finders. I started it off the back of microcaps, okay? And I want to talk about, going forward, what you can expect from me in terms of microcaps and what I think about them right now. I'm an opportunist, and that could be a good thing and it could be a bad thing. It really just depends on how you look at the world. But I'm an opportunist. As a YouTuber, what is my goal here? My goal as a crypto YouTuber is to bring as many possible gains to my channel as possible. Where can I see the most success financially? That is where my mind goes. Where could I see my risk versus reward serving me the best? And so I'm an opportunist. You know where my YouTube channel started? In stocks. I was a stock guy. But I noticed that in crypto, I had been studying it for so long that I'm like, this is better. I made more gains in crypto over the last year than I have with stocks ever. I was in stocks for 3 years before I moved to crypto. Now, I'm an opportunist in the sense, again, that I look for the gains, wherever the gains are. But not only do I look for gains, is that sometimes there are no freaking gains to be made. In this market, there haven't been gains to be made. Some have done well. GMT did well for a little while. ApeCoin did well for a little while. But for the most part, there's not that many gains to be made. So whenever there aren't that many gains to be made, I go into my second mode. My second mode is, how do I mitigate loss? How do I stay in crypto but mitigate loss? That's my goal. I want to mitigate loss and minimize my losses as much as possible so that whenever the market does turn around and the bulls do resume what they were doing, and when we do start to see the new all-time highs getting set for crypto, which they will one day, how do I have as much money left as possible to take advantage of that and not lose much during the bear market and make a lot during the bull market? It's always my goal. Always my goal. So whenever microcaps were popping off, whenever we were in the middle of altcoin season, whenever we saw total 2 looking like this last year, in which every altcoin on earth and microcap specifically were taking off. Let's take Ethereum out the mix. This is what it looked like for the altcoin market, right? When we started to see this happen, when I hit the scene on YouTube from here to here, right? Realistically from, in this little phase here, where were the biggest and best gains to be made? Microcaps. They're poker chips, man. You own 10 microcaps that are exciting, one of them is going to make you a shit ton of money. I've made the most money off of microcaps. I have, right? Found ones that I thought were great. $3-4 million market cap whenever we were in April, May of last year, or even July, August of last year. And bought them, put $1,000 into it. They'll go up 1,000%. I would confidently say I would say last year I took profits of nearly, not into it, but nearly 6 figures from microcaps. And that's where the gains were. Sure, Matic was going up 13%, 14%, 15%. Cool. But whenever you have things coming out that are making hundreds of percents easily, I'm not focused on anything but microcaps, right? So that's where my focus was. Why? Because I'm an opportunist. But when the market shifted for the worst, okay, I started to get skeptical. Last summer, I started to get skeptical. And although we did enter another mania phase in which we started to see the metaverse taking over, something switched in me and I realized that a bear market's coming. And I had it was just a gut feeling in me. Like, I said it over and over and over again. I told you guys constantly on the channel, I said, expect me to talk about microcaps less because I feel as if we're too far ahead of ourselves. We have to see this market calm down a little bit. We have to see the crypto world relax. You don't just print money forever. Shit has to come back down. And for that reason, I said, expect me to talk about microcaps less. Gem finders came to a pause. I stopped talking about SafeMoon. I believe it was July 27th, 2021. Don't quote me on that, but it was around that time. Why? Because I started to come to realizations where it's not necessarily about making as much gains as possible anymore. It's about minimizing risk. And whenever we are entering into a point in time in which the market could very possibly be going into an extended period of downturn, getting into microcaps is almost a suicide mission. Because the majority of cryptos are going to fail. But not only are they going to fail, not only are the majority of them going to fail, the majority of them are at least going to go down 90%. Look at Mana. Look at Sand. Some of the best, biggest metaverse projects that there were. Look in November. It was at the top of the food chain. It's down 80%. So being that that's down 80%, Ada Cardano's down over, I think like 90%, 80, 83%, something like that. They're down substantially, and those are the biggest cryptos on Earth. Some of the biggest cryptos on Earth. Why on earth would I trust that a microcap coin with a limited amount of money to survive something like this has more of a chance of surviving than a Matic or an ADA or a Solana or an AVAX, Ethereum, Mana, BNB Phantom, Sand? Why would I trust that microcap has more of a potential to make it through a bear market than a top alt? If a top alt's struggling, I don't. Just don't see it happening. And so for that reason, I have started to turn away from microcaps. And I have. There's some that I like. I bring them to the channel. I do integrations. I talked about Metarix the other day. It's a pre-sale happening right now in today. I took part of that pre-sale because I like my chances of making gains. So if I like my chances of making gains, I'll take part in a pre-sale. I'll buy a microcap. I'll do it here and there. But my primary focus is not in any way microcaps. And if the 80% of your portfolio is microcaps, you're down a lot. I'm sure you are. But the scary part about it is there's not a guarantee you're going to make it out. If I'm going to be honest. I'm confident, right? When I look at friggin' my portfolio, you want a realistic look at my portfolio in terms of percentages? I'm currently holding, in terms of the biggest positions that I have, I'm going to be open here. Let's talk about my top 10 biggest holdings, okay? My biggest holding is Ethereum. My second biggest holding is Matic. My third biggest holding is Bitcoin. My fourth biggest holding is Solana. My fifth biggest holding is Polkadot. My sixth biggest holding is Avalanche. I forgot Cardano. My fifth biggest holding is Cardano. Sixth, Polkadot. Seventh, Avalanche. Eighth, this is kind of a little bit of a tie here. But we'll give it to AVAX. Ninth, Chainlink. And 10th, it's another tie. Whatever. VeChain. We'll give it to VeChain. Whatever. You get the point. Or no, BNB. BNB. I'm bugging. Okay. So you can see I'm mostly in alts, right? Bitcoin is my third biggest holding. I'm working on it. I'm mostly in alts. My portfolio is fucking down a lot, right? I started buying crypto back here. Back here. Okay. The very end of 2020. That's when I really bought in. The first Bitcoin I ever bought. Bitcoin, look at this bullshit. So the first time I ever bought crypto was on Robinhood. I bought freaking Bitcoin on Robinhood in the COVID crash. Right? Like a moron. Like, it's not even real Bitcoin, really. But I bought Bitcoin on Robinhood at like 4K. Literally, like 4K. Sold it at 7K. Oh yeah, I didn't include my stable coins. Let me be open and transparent. I'm 70% in stable coins right now. 30% of my money is in crypto. I'm 70% in stable coins. Like 70% of that's in USDC. But anywho, so I started buying crypto in the the COVID crash because I was like, this thing is interesting, and it fell a lot. So I'm like, you know what, whatever. I made like $3,000. I was this 18-year-old college student. And I was like, dude, I made $3,000 off Bitcoin, so it piqued my interest. And I sold it like a moron, but whatever. And then I started buying a lot of crypto. Here, I didn't start making. I make a decent amount, a year, whatever. And it's not a bragging thing. You guys know I don't talk about that ever, and I don't want to. So for that reason, as I started to make a lot more money during times like these, yeah, I remember you, Crypto Factor. We had a weird interaction a while back, but I appreciate you. I started to accumulate here, and I started to accumulate even up here. And so for that reason, I put in a lot more money in this little time frame than I did here, or even when I did back here, because I didn't have money. Okay, I didn't have money back here. So for that reason, although my average cost from back here is still up substantially, I did the majority of my accumulating up here. So let's be honest. My crypto portfolio is negative. It is. Don't care. Know why I don't care? Because I'm in projects that I know are going to recover. 8 of the 10, in my opinion, are going to recover in my portfolio. 8 of my 10. I'm confident. So that leaves me with a level of confidence to say that although I'm not seeing gains right now, I think my losses are minimized, and I think my portfolio is going to recover. If I was in 10 microcaps right now, majoritively, I wouldn't be that confident. Honestly, I'd be like, I don't know if this things in my portfolio are going to make it out of this. And so for that reason, when I am so strongly focused personally on major cap altcoins, why would I direct my entire channel or investments on microcaps? Y'all want me to be honest? You want me to be vulnerable here? If I was talking about microcaps, talking about new projects all the time, similar as I was before, doing gem finders, bringing on new projects, talking about all of these hype exciting projects and doing all of that stuff, my channel would be doing better than it is. I'd have 100, 200K subs probably. I was always one of those ones who would bring a level-headed biased mindset to the microcap market, and I would be doing better. I would probably be getting paid more from integrations, from say exchanges who pay me to integrate on my channel. My sponsorships would be doing better. I'd be making more money from them. My views would be higher. My engagement would be higher. I would be doing a lot better. But it comes down to my morals, and my personal morals that don't have to be, I'm not saying are better or worse than anyone else's at all, are that I focus my YouTube channel on where my primary focuses are in my real life. And my real life is not there. And so I wanted to talk to you guys and just tell you that don't take it as me not thinking there is hope for microcaps. I still love some of these projects, right? DrivenX, Dexio Protocol, Metrix coming out. Those are the ones that I believe in still. And I'm still holding my position in them. But it's not where my focus is. So don't take it as me not having faith in them. But do take it as it's not where I'm focused. And don't take it as a sign of negligence or anything bad, okay? Now, I'm going to do in my next stream, I'm going to talk about SafeMoon. I have not addressed SafeMoon on my channel since July of last year. Not talked about it. Things happened that I just didn't like. Stop talking about it. I moved on with my life. And on the next stream, I'm going to address SafeMoon. And I'm going to talk about what happened with SafeMoon. And why me, who at the time, like when SafeMoon came out, I was one of the biggest influencers on SafeMoon, right? Be honest there, if anyone's new here. I was one of the biggest SafeMoon influencers. And I was covering it every day. I was getting 50,000 views a day. A video, I meant. And why I stopped talking about it. What happened, why my reasonings behind it are. I don't want to kick a dead horse. And that bitch is dead in my opinion. It's a dead horse right now, just with everything that's come out recently. And I'm going to address the reason why I stopped talking about it. So stay tuned for that. So, it's not something I wanted to do. It's not something that I really am excited about, honestly, like at all. But I feel like I owe some of you who found me through SafeMoon, I feel like I owe you an explanation. And now that some of the, the dust has settled and the smoke's cleared, I'm open up about it. Talk about it. It's going to be a shit show, I'm sure. So, what we're going to do now, we're going to open up the chat over to our Q&A before I do go ahead and wrap this up. We got about 20 minutes, so I'm gonna, if we have questions, I'll take them. Of course, if we don't, I won't. But we're gonna open this thing on up to any questions that you all may have. Not that. And yeah, I will not necessarily be like looking into new projects or doing anything like that. The next stream, I might look at some new crypto projects, but really not too interested today. But what I would like to do is just open up the chat for a Q&A. Anybody have any questions? Anybody wants to talk about anything, my opinion on anything, go ahead, feel free. And then we're going to wrap this up. I'm going to put I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the timestamps on this as soon as it ends. And yeah. Okay, this went in a better direction. LOL. Dude, get me on your live stream. Crypto Factor, we're going to have to bring you on one day. If any of you, if you want to know who Crypto Factor is, one sec. Yeah, sure. If you look up my name, somewhere around here, Crypto Factor roasted my ass like a year ago. Just basically, I don't want to say he called me a moron, but like kind of. In like a very jokingly nice way called me a moron. And honestly, I rewatch it and I look back at it and I'm like, he had some points. He had some good points. I can't even be mad at you. So Crypto Factor, I took this video a lot to heart, honestly, and it actually was a part that influenced me to stop talking about some of the cryptos I was. So anyway, that's Crypto Factor. You asshole, you. Joking, of course. If you had 50K to invest, where would you put it? I would go probably with my allocation now. Hey, can we get this thing to 100 likes? 82 of you watching right now. 75 likes. Let's get 25 likes. I know there's a few of you who are watching who is impressed that. So 50K, I would go 20 I would go 15,000 into Ethereum, 20,000 right now. Like right now, I'm doing like 15,000 into Ethereum, 20,000 into Bitcoin, and then keeping, if I had to invest it into something. No. Different idea. I go 15,000 into Ethereum. Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. Okay. I would go 20,000 into Bitcoin, 10,000 into Ethereum, 10,000 into like a hodlnot or crypto.com and get passive income off my 10,000. So what's that? What did I just say? 15,000 and 20,000, 10,000, 10,000. And then I would separate the next 10,000 into Solana, Matic, BNB, AVAX, AVAX, and ADA. I would separate $2,000 into each one of those. That's how I think I would do it. Yeah, that's how I would do it. So 10,000 into passive income plays, 10,000 into Ethereum, 20,000 into Bitcoin, 10,000 into smaller alts. That's kind of what I would do. I think maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's what I would do. Yeah, nothing but love, Crypto Factor. That's all love. I'm glad to see your channel still going, dude. Killing it, bro. Okay. What's next? I have a toxic confidence that Ethereum is going to hit $10,000 one day, and nobody can convince me otherwise. Honestly. If Ethereum doesn't hit $2,000 by 2025, or if Ethereum doesn't even hit $5,000 by 2025, I would literally be unequivocally, is that a good word? Yeah, unequivocally surprised. Do you dollar cost average at all? Do you only enter and exit specific points according to your TA? I dollar cost average. If shit is getting real ugly, I dollar cost average. I actually have a dollar cost average portfolio that I cover in my Patreon, in which I dollar cost average just like every couple weeks when the market's just really low. Now I dollar cost average every now and then. But if I'm in a position where my technical analysis feels as if we're gonna fall, then I'll kind of slow down on my dollar cost averaging. But no, I dollar cost average every now and then, but those aren't huge buys. My big buys come off my TA because I trust my TA like nobody else. Agree 7 to 10K. Yep. 100. It just has to, right? I almost feel like this freaking ETH merge could be the one thing that pulls us out of this shit for crypto. You know, it can't just be me who pictures this narrative where everyone's talking about Bitcoin is the hedge against inflation, and then inflation numbers start to come out, and then Bitcoin's not doing well, right? And then next thing you know, the world's not doing good. The stock market starts to kind of cool down and slow down on its fall and starts to kind of consolidate or slowly fall. And then ETH 2.0 is coming out, and as we get closer to that, Ethereum leads this market into a big return, a big bounce, a relief rally. Even if it's just a relief rally where Bitcoin, say, goes back up to 40, 45K, like, I can envision that narrative where crypto is the one standout amongst this entire market, you know, the entire financial equities market and just assets in general. and the narrative of Bitcoin finally being the hedge against inflation that it's meant to be. As soon as JP Morgan just came out and saying that it's undervalued, like, I can see that narrative. I'm not going to say it happens because summertime has a history of not being good for crypto, but man, I can just see the narrative playing out. So I'm so curious to see what Ethereum does over the next couple months, and for that reason, I'm still accumulating ETH. Still accumulating ETH. Any more questions? Any more questions? What we got? What we got? What we got? Give it a couple more minutes, and yeah, then we'll go ahead and wrap this thing on up in a sec here. Again, timestamps will be provided for those of you who are, well, if you're rewatching the stream near this far. Bold statement: bull market turnaround by end of this year, and will probably reflecting price in early 2023. I can see it happen. I can see it happen. I'd like to see it happen. Do you own a Cyber Knight yet? No, but I want one. Oh, god dang it. Cody, I forgot to message you. My B. Hit me up, Cody. I want a Cyber Knight, dog. I see them shutting ETH down to clean up 17,000 shitcoins in this space, all built on ETH. How are you going to shut it down? How are you going to shut it down? I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. Fame MMA, I like it. It's not doing well. The price isn't doing well. I did let you guys know I took a little bit of profits once it really started to crash. But, man, Fame MMA, the MMA promotion is doing such big things in terms of celebrity fighting or celebrity MMA fights and stuff like that. I don't know if it's going to succeed, but damn it, I like it. And it works so well with my normal life, like my real life. Of course, I think you guys saw it just now. This is me. So, that's me. That's me. That's me. Being an MMA fighter and being that there's a crypto token so heavily involved in the MMA and the MMA space that actually has some type of utility, I like it. I'm gonna support it. Whatever happens, but I'm gonna support it. Bitcoin isn't a hedge. I would rather have lost 10% to inflation than 80% of what Bitcoin lost. Agreed. I don't like the whole hedge against inflation thing. I don't like it. It's an investment. That's what it is. We're being honest. You can do it. You think ETH will hit 2K today? Oh, I don't know. Today? It could. I don't see it happening today, but it could. You think it will hit 2K today? DM me, bro. Oh, bet, Cody. Okay, what did you think of Creator Kaiser? I loved it. Did y'all see Graham Stephan's fight? That was dope. I loved it. I loved every moment of it. I like whenever we have those boxing events where they don't pretend to be boxers, right? They're not boxers. They're entertainers. So when they don't try to pretend they're boxers and they take it for what it is, I love it. Whoever puts money into the new Luna deserves to lose it. I don't say deserves to, but, definitely putting themselves at risk. I missed the Terra update. Where are we at with the not fork? I talked about it for like 30 minutes. So just go to the beginning of the video. Basically, I'm not buying shit. But yeah. Yeah, that's one thing about Tyler. He could kick my ass. MMA, as far as MMA fighters who have bright futures, which fighter NFTs, if any, do you think are good investments? I think Sean O'Malley is a good one. Agreed. Sean O'Malley is a good one. NFTs. Anthony Pettis has some sick ones, but I would say Sean O'Malley's like I am the biggest Sean O'Malley like stan that there is, to be honest. It's bad. If my mom is still in here, ask her. It's bad, dude. I'm going to UFC 276 in Vegas, July 1st for my birthday just because he's fighting. Not gonna lie. I thought it was fun and super exciting. Agreed. If Bitcoin lost 50% of its value in 10 years, it beats inflation. True. Tyler's views on ADA currently bullish or bearish? Short-term bearish, long-term bullish. It's all or nothing life savings into Luna the second it launched, and I'm either a millionaire or homeless tomorrow. You know how many people are actually doing that, though? Can we get 6 more likes on this thing? My mom said it's bad. Yeah. There are literally Sean O'Malley moments that come out in my fights where I'll do some Sean O'Malley shit. I gotta stop it. I don't know why. I just relate to him so much as a fighter. O'Malley destroys all bantams. I don't even think he'd do damage at... I even think he'd do damage at featherweight. I agree. I think he's gonna put Pedro Munoz out cold, but... I told my girlfriend, I was like, guys, or not guys, but I was like, yo, whenever we're in that stand, if he knocks Pedro Munoz out, I literally told my girlfriend, I was like, look, I know we're going to be in Vegas and doing all of this, but if Sean O'Malley loses and gets knocked out, literally do not talk to me for the rest of the day. Worst day of my life. When Chito Vera beat him, I was like, that hurt my feelings a lot. Anyway, I'm not going to get started. I will talk about him all day. I don't want to call it a boy crush. Might be. Anyway. Tutorial on how to do short crypto from a new retail investor's perspective. Sure. I could do that. The best one, I would say. This guy made a fantastic video on it. This guy right here. Bobby B, how to short Bitcoin and crypto on KuCoin exchange. Fantastic one. Cryptocurrency margin trading guide. Look that up. Fantastic guide there. Bitcoin is a great anti-inflation hedge depending which country you are in. Facts. El Salvador, great one. Also, give the U.S. time and also depending on time frame. Okay, I like that. That's a very good hedge of inflation argument there. That's true. Especially like you said, it depends on what country you're in. Fluke win for Cheeto. I agree. But when I say that, they call me just a fanboy. Sell your girlfriend and put it on Luna 2.0. Absolutely not. Where do you live, Tyler? I'm in Baltimore. I live in Louisiana. Louisiana guy. What a good chat we're having today, right? We have a great chat today. Like, you guys in the chat are amazing. Our chat's usually, like, toxic sometimes, like, especially Gym Finder days. 100 likes, baby. That's amazing. Okay. It's looking like we're coming about to a wrap-up on the questions here, so it looks like we're going to wrap it up. Guys, we just did a 2-hour stream, I think. About an hour and 53 minutes. Didn't hit the 2-hour mark, but close enough for sure. Guys, I appreciate you so much. I'm going to try to do these streams 2 to 3 times every single week. Before I wrap it up, how was the production of this? How was the stream? Did it seem to flow pretty smooth? I'm still working on it. I'm not used to these longer streams. I do streams every day on my Patreon. Or, no, that's a lie. Every 3 or 4 every day. 3 or 4 every week, I meant. Streams on my Patreon. But I'm not used to these public streams. I get a little bit more nervous doing these, honestly. So I'm trying to work on the production of it and just how it flows and... okay, cool. So I'm glad it works, and I'm glad it's kind of it's something that I can do more often. I think that this is the easy way for me to get a lot of information across in one time. So I'm gonna try to do these again 2 to 3 times every week. Sundays are probably gonna be the days I do them the most often, and we just figure it out during the week. So for that, that's gonna be about it. And I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. I have a teammate, my best friend, or one of my best friends, Caleb Lazard. He is fighting for Gulf Coast MMA. Everyone, do me a favor. Do me a favor if possible. If you go to YouTube and you type in Head Kicks Martial Arts and Fitness or Head Kicks MMA. Go check out this podcast. Fightcast episode 1, Gabe Reed and Caleb Lazard. Those are my two of my best friends. They're fighting tomorrow, Saturday night. Caleb Lazard is fighting for the championship against the number 1 125-pound fighter in the country, or in the state and the lower country. So I'm going to be there Saturday. I'm leaving tomorrow morning, so I'm not going to post tomorrow. I'm not going to post Saturday, probably not Sunday. I'm going to try to go live with another live stream Sunday afternoon. So I will see you guys then. I appreciate you so much for joining in. And yeah, we're going to call that about a wrap. Thank you guys so much. See you next time.